Ambassador Kale walked into the massive council chamber, his footsteps echoing in the strange quiet. Something was wrong. The huge room that usually buzzed with noise from hundreds of different alien species was almost silent. Only whispers filled the air. At the center of the room, Theron stood at the speaking platform. His four arms moved nervously as he waited for attention. Theron was from the Vrex people, tall and thin with compound eyes that sparkled like jewels. Today those eyes looked dim and worried. Friends of the Council, Theron's voice came through the translation machines that helped all species understand each other. I have news that will shock you all. The humans, they are gone. A wave of confusion swept through the chamber. Gone? What did that mean? Kale looked at the human section of the council. 27 empty chairs sat there, but humans often left meetings when they got angry about decisions. This happened a lot. What do you mean by gone? Asked Counselor Nexus. Her long tentacles moved with worry. She came from a water world and always spoke directly. Theron's eyes grew even dimmer. Every human world. Every human colony. Every human space station. All empty. No emergency calls. No goodbye messages. They just left. The chamber exploded with noise. Aliens who had spent years complaining about humans suddenly seemed lost. For decades they had said humans were too aggressive, too wild, too hard to control. Humans always wanted to do things their own way instead of following council rules. But now they were gone and nobody knew what to think. Kale checked the information flowing into his brain computer. Terra Nova, the big human farming world, empty. New Sol colony with its millions of people, abandoned. The huge factories on Kepler 442b silent. 18 billion humans living on 47 worlds had disappeared like smoke. When did this happen? Asked the old representative from the Korth people. His voice shook with age and surprise. We don't know exactly, Theron replied. Our long-distance sensors noticed the pattern 6 days ago. But our scientists think it started weeks before that. The humans used some kind of stealth technology to hide what they were doing. Technology we never knew they had. This made everyone even more worried. How could humans hide the movement of billions of people? How could they keep such a big secret from the Council's spy networks? Did they leave any messages? Called out another delegate. Only automatic systems broadcasting basic maintenance information. Nothing personal. Nothing to explain why they left. Kale felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years as a diplomat, he had never seen anything like this. When species left the Council, there were always fights, arguments, threats. Someone always stayed behind to complain or cause trouble. But humanity had moved with perfect unity. Every single human had agreed to leave. Not one had stayed behind to explain or argue. The silence returned to the chamber, but now it felt heavy and frightening. Around him, Kale could see the faces of delegates from hundreds of worlds. Some looked confused. Others seemed angry. A few appeared scared. What about their trade agreements? Asked someone from the back. Cancelled, Theron answered. All contracts ended properly. All debts paid. All business finished cleanly before they left. Their military equipment? Their weapons. Gone with them. Even their defensive systems around their old worlds are still working, but locked with codes we cannot break. More questions came like rain. What about the human students in alien schools? Gone, picked up quietly weeks ago. What about human doctors working in alien hospitals? They had resigned and left. What about human engineers fixing alien machines? All their projects were finished and handed over before they disappeared. The more they learned, the more amazing it became. Humanity had planned this for months, maybe years. They had quietly ended every connection, finished every job, and closed every relationship. Then they had vanished completely. Have we tried to contact them? Asked Vera from the Maritime Federation. Her blue skin looked pale with worry. We have sent messages to every frequency we know humans use. Nothing. We have searched their old space with our fastest ships. Empty. We have asked our spies and information sellers across the galaxy. No one has seen a single human ship. Kale thought about all the times the Council had argued with human delegates. Humans always wanted to help other species, even when those species did not ask for help. They would send medical supplies to plague worlds without permission. They would stop wars between other species by getting in the middle. They would share technology freely when the Council said it was dangerous. The Council had made many rules to control human behavior. Humans could not send aid without permission. They could not interfere in other species' wars. They could not share advanced technology. Every time humans tried to help, the Council would criticize them or make new rules to stop them. Now those same Council members sat in worried silence. The humans they had spent so much time controlling were gone. The galaxy felt bigger and emptier without them. As the meeting continued with confused discussions and worried questions, one thought kept returning to Kale's mind. For the first time in galactic history, humanity had acted with complete agreement and total secrecy. What did that mean for the rest of them? 3 weeks had passed since humanity disappeared, and Counselor Vera stood before the emergency meeting looking tired and scared. Her blue skin, usually bright like ocean water, now looked pale and sick. She held a data pad in her shaking hands. "The Centauri trade route has stopped working," she announced to the worried delegates. "Without the human computer programs that organized all the cargo ships, everything is backing up at the jump points. Ships are stuck waiting for days. The Rigel Syndicate says shipping now takes 3 times longer than before." Worried voices filled the chamber. Trade routes were like the blood vessels of the galaxy. When they stopped working, everything started to die. Dr. Rickson stepped forward from the medical section. He was usually confident and proud, but now he looked broken. "The sickness on Vega Prime has killed 12,000 people," he said quietly. "We tried to make the medicine that humans used to cure this disease. But we cannot do it. Their medical technology was much more advanced than we knew." More bad news kept coming. General Thex clicked his insect-like mouthparts nervously. "The Karath hegemony has prepared their war fleets for battle. For 70 years, human diplomats stopped them from starting a full war. Humans kept the peace that we all took for granted." Kale watched the reports appear on his screen. Power failures on 17 worlds, all using electrical systems that human engineers had helped design. Food shortages across the outer worlds, supply chains that human companies had managed. Even the Council's own translation machines were breaking down without updates from human language experts. The problems were everywhere. Space traffic control systems failing without human programming. Asteroid mining operations stopped because human safety protocols were too complex for others to understand. Medical research projects abandoned because human scientists had been the leaders. Ambassador Zara from Altair stood up slowly. She looked embarrassed and ashamed. "My government found something terrible in our old records," she said. "For 200 years, humans have been solving problems that we never even knew existed. They stopped disasters before they happened. They fixed things before they broke. They prevented wars before they started." The chamber fell silent. This was bigger than anyone had imagined. "We have examples," Zara continued. 23 years ago, our sun almost had a solar storm that would have killed everyone on our planet. Human scientists quietly fixed our solar shields without telling us. We never knew we were in danger. Other delegates began checking their own records. Slowly, more awful truths came out. The Korth representative found records of humans secretly providing food during a famine that would have killed millions. The Maritime Federation discovered that humans had been quietly cleaning up toxic waste in their oceans for decades. The Karath learned that human spies had stopped 17 different terrorist attacks against their government. "How is this possible?" whispered Counselor Nexus. "Why did we never know?" Ambassador Min from the Archive Department had been researching this question. She stood with a pile of data crystals. "Because every time humans helped us, we criticized them for interfering. So they learned to help in secret. They would solve our problems, then make it look like we solved them ourselves." The evidence was overwhelming. When the Andromedan plague happened 5 years ago, the Council praised Andromedan doctors for finding a cure quickly. But human records showed that human medical teams had worked for months to develop that cure, then secretly gave it to Andromedan scientists to announce. When the trade war between the Rigel Syndicate and the Centauri Republic ended peacefully, everyone celebrated the wisdom of both governments. But humans had been secretly negotiating between them for 2 years, finding compromises that both sides could accept. When the Karath military stopped their expansion into neutral space, military experts praised Karath leadership. But humans had been quietly sharing intelligence about rebel groups that would have made Karath expansion impossible anyway. "They were fixing everything," Vera said in amazement. "While we complained about them being too aggressive, they were secretly protecting us from real dangers we never saw." The pattern was everywhere. Humans would identify a problem, work to solve it, then make sure someone else got credit for the solution. They did this to avoid the Council's anger about human interference. "Why?" asked General Thex. "Why help people who criticized them?" Min looked through more records. "Because they believed it was right. Human philosophy says that helping others is more important than getting credit for helping." The chamber was quiet as everyone thought about this. For decades, they had seen humans as troublemakers who did not follow rules. They had made law after law to control human behavior. They had criticized human methods and questioned human motives. But the truth was different. Humans had been the galaxy's secret guardians, working in shadows to keep everyone safe and happy. They had accepted blame and criticism while quietly saving lives and preventing disasters. "We drove them away," Counselor Vera said softly. "We spent so much time complaining about them that we never noticed they were holding our civilization together." Around the chamber, delegates looked at each other with growing fear. Without humans secretly fixing problems, how long could galactic civilization survive? How many disasters were coming that only humans knew how to prevent? For the first time since humanity left, the Council realized the terrible truth. They had not been governing the troublemakers of the galaxy. They had been governing its saviors. Fleet Commander Mira sat in her captain's chair, staring at the beautiful blue and green planet in front of her ship. New Terra looked perfect from space, white clouds, sparkling oceans, and bright city lights visible even in daylight. But something felt very wrong. "Any life signs?" she asked her crew. "No human readings anywhere, Commander," replied her scanner officer Jean. "But all their machines are still working. Power plants running, air cleaners working, even their space defense weapons are active." That was the strangest part. The defense platforms around New Terra should have challenged their ships or fired warning shots. Instead, they just watched silently, like metal guardians waiting for masters who would never return. "Commander," called Communications Officer Kai from his station. "We're getting a message from the planet. It keeps repeating over and over." "Let me hear it." A human voice filled the bridge, warm and sad, speaking slowly and clearly. "To anyone who hears this, we built these worlds with hope in our hearts. We shared our knowledge because we trusted you. We offered friendship with open hands. But you gave us suspicion instead of thanks. You gave us rules instead of respect. We gave you the stars. You gave us judgment. This is not revenge. This is just goodbye." The message started again in a different alien language, then another, then another. Mira realized it was being broadcast in all 847 languages of the Galactic Council. "How long has this been playing?" she asked. "Since we arrived, Commander. Maybe longer." Mira ordered her ships to land at the main spaceport. The landing pads were clean and ready, automated systems guiding them down perfectly. But no one came to meet them. No crowds, no officials, no curious onlookers. Just empty buildings and silent streets. The landing party put on their environmental suits and walked into the city. What they found was like a museum. Everything was perfectly maintained. Parks had green grass and blooming flowers, watered by automatic systems. Libraries were full of books and data crystals, organized and clean. Shops still had goods on the shelves, prices displayed in multiple currencies. But there were no people anywhere. "Sir," called Science Officer Yun from her portable scanner. "I'm detecting massive security locks on all the human buildings. The encryption is incredibly complex. Our best computer experts would need hundreds of years to break even the simplest locks." They tried to enter a human hospital. The doors recognized them as non-human visitors and politely displayed a message. "We apologize, but this facility is currently closed to alien species. Thank you for your understanding." The same message appeared at schools, research centers, and government buildings. The humans had locked away their entire civilization. Commander Myra's team explored city after city, finding the same thing everywhere. Automated systems kept everything running perfectly, but all human knowledge and technology was sealed behind quantum encryption that no other species could crack. In the human botanical gardens, alien plants from dozens of worlds grew together in beautiful harmony. Signs in multiple languages explained how humans had created new growing techniques that helped feed billions across the galaxy. But the research labs where this work was done remained locked and silent. At the spaceport they found maintenance bays full of advanced tools that could repair any ship in the galaxy. Human engineers had always offered free repairs to alien vessels in distress. Now those same tools sat unused, their operating manuals written in codes no one could read. "This is planet number 15, reported Captain Sue from another search ship. "Same pattern everywhere. Perfect preservation, total lockdown. It's like they wanted to show us what we lost without letting us have it back." The search expanded to human mining colonies, research stations, and military bases. Every location told the same story. No signs of violence or struggle. No emergency evacuations or panic. Just the careful, planned departure of an entire species that had decided the galaxy was no longer their home. On the industrial world of Kepler 442b, they found automated factories still producing medicine and technology, but everything was being stored in locked warehouses. Billions of doses of vaccines sat in refrigerated storage, enough to cure diseases across dozens of worlds. But the access codes were encrypted beyond any alien ability to crack. They're still helping, Mira realized. Even after leaving, they're still making things we need. But they won't let us have them. At the Human Military Academy on Proxima Station, they found training simulators that had taught human officers how to prevent wars and stop conflicts peacefully. The simulators still worked, showing scenarios of galactic crises and their solutions. But when aliens tried to access the programs, they were locked out with a message: access denied. Authorized for human personnel only. The most heartbreaking discovery came at the end of their search. In the ruins of the Galactic Council's Earth Embassy, carved into the memorial wall in simple galactic standard letters, were the words, "We were never the problem. We were the solution you refused to see." Commander Mira stood before that wall for a long time, reading those words again and again. Around her, the empty embassy building echoed with the ghosts of human diplomats who had tried for centuries to bridge the gap between their species and the rest of the galaxy. "Send a message to the Council," she finally ordered. "Tell them we found the humans' farewell gift, a perfect museum of everything they did for us, locked away forever as a reminder of what we threw away." Chief Archivist Yuna walked deep into the Council's underground data storage center. Her team followed behind her, carrying floating platforms loaded with human data crystals they had finally managed to recover. After months of searching through abandoned human facilities, they had found some older archives that weren't locked as tightly as the rest. "Start the first recording," Yuna told the hologram machine. A human woman appeared in the air before them, wearing a white medical coat. The name tag said Dr. Hyun. The date stamp showed this was recorded during the terrible sickness that killed millions on Altair 5 years ago. Personal diary, day 47 of the outbreak. Dr. Hyun spoke quietly, looking tired and sad. "The Altarian doctors keep refusing our help. They say human medicine is too different to work on their people. They don't trust us. Meanwhile, we've made enough vaccine to save their entire planet. Tonight, Jean will sneak the medicine to black market dealers. We'll make it look like Altarian scientists invented it. Another crisis solved, another time we have to hide that humans helped." Yuna felt her stomach drop. The galaxy had celebrated Altarian medical genius for curing that plague so quickly. But humans had actually developed the cure and given it away secretly. "Next file," she whispered to her assistant Juan. The hologram changed to show a human military officer named Commander Su. The date was during the border war between the Korath and the Neutral Zone worlds. The Council officially criticized humanity today for aggressive military actions near the border, Commander Su said, looking frustrated. "What they don't know is that our aggressive actions stopped 3 different Korath invasion fleets from attacking peaceful worlds. Our spies have been feeding false information to both sides for months, keeping the balance of power equal. Let them think we're warmongers. As long as innocent people stay alive, I don't care what they call us." File after file showed the same terrible pattern. Humans solving galaxy-wide problems while being blamed for the very actions that saved billions of lives. Dr. Park appeared next, talking about the Great Famine on Rigel 7. "The Rigel government says human food aid violates their cultural independence. So we're shipping grain in unmarked containers and bribing local officials to claim it came from their emergency reserves. 10 million people won't starve and Rigel politicians can keep their pride. Everyone wins except humans get no credit and more criticism for interfering in alien affairs." Engineer Lee spoke about preventing a space station disaster. "The Korth Council rejected our safety warnings about their orbital habitat. They said human engineering standards don't apply to their technology. Tonight we're going to sneak aboard and fix their life support systems before they fail. Tomorrow they'll probably blame us for trespassing. But 300,000 Korth families will still be breathing, so the blame is worth it." The recordings went on and on. Humans secretly stopping wars, curing diseases, preventing disasters and solving problems across the galaxy. Every time they helped, they had to hide their involvement because the Council and other species would get angry about human interference. Scientist Min appeared in a recording from just 2 years ago. "We discovered that the Andromedan sun is going to have dangerous solar flares next month. We tried to warn their government, but they said human astronomy is unreliable. So we're going to quietly upgrade their solar shields while they think we're doing routine maintenance on their communication satellites. When the flares happen, their planet will be safe, and they'll never know how close they came to extinction." Diplomat Wong talked about trade negotiations. "The Maritime Federation and the Centauri Republic are about to start a trade war that will crash both their economies. We've been secretly meeting with negotiators from both sides, finding compromises they can both accept. Tomorrow they'll announce a peaceful agreement and praise each other's wisdom. Humans won't be mentioned, but 12 billion people will keep their jobs. The final recording showed Ambassador Lee, humanity's last representative to the council. She looked exhausted and heartbroken. Today humanity voted to withdraw completely from galactic civilization, she said sadly. After 300 years of service, we're tired of being treated like criminals while secretly working as the galaxy's protectors. We've prevented wars while being called aggressive. We've saved lives while being called dangerous. We've solved problems while being called interfering troublemakers. She paused, wiping tears from her eyes. The council wants us gone? They'll get their wish. But they'll learn what we really were when we're no longer here to be what they needed. We were never the enemy they thought we were. We were the friends they couldn't see. Una sat in the dark archive room, surrounded by the evidence of humanity's secret guardianship. Every prevented war, every stopped plague, every avoided disaster, all hidden from galactic history while humans took the blame for saving everyone. How many times did they save us? Whispered Juan. Una looked through the data files. Thousands of crises prevented. Millions of lives saved. Countless disasters avoided. All done in secret because helping openly only brought criticism and punishment. All the time, she answered quietly. They were saving us all the time and we never knew. We thought they were the problem, but they were actually the solution to everything. The truth was overwhelming and heartbreaking. Humanity hadn't been the galaxy's troublemakers. They had been its secret guardians, working in shadows to protect people who hated them for it. 1 year had passed since humanity disappeared, and Council Speaker Nora stood in the Great Chamber feeling older than her years. The massive room that once held delegates from 847 different species now looked empty and broken. Only half the seats were filled. The rest of the species had gone home to deal with their own failing worlds. Around her, empty chairs marked not just humanity's absence, but also the 12 species whose governments had collapsed into war without human peacekeepers to stop the fighting. The Rigel Syndicate no longer exists, Nora announced to the small group of remaining delegates. Her voice echoed in the mostly empty chamber. Without working trade routes, their economy died completely. The Andromedans have entered a dark age. Their power failed 6 months ago, and they cannot fix the fusion reactors that humans designed for them. The numbers on the display screens told a story of galactic collapse. 73 worlds were now poor and struggling. 19 wars were happening across different systems. 6 deadly diseases were spreading without human medical help to stop them. The galaxy was slowly dying without the invisible support network humanity had provided. We have found something called the Terran Archive, Nora continued. It broadcasts from the edge of Andromedan space. Inside it is all of humanity's knowledge. Every solution to every crisis. All their technology and methods. They offer it freely to any species that will publicly admit how much humanity helped galactic civilization. The chamber stayed quiet. Even facing destruction, most species were too proud to admit they had been wrong about humans. From the back of the room, an old Korth diplomat slowly stood up. His people had been the first to swallow their pride and access the archive. Now their worlds were the most stable in the galaxy. My people have written something, he said in his shaky old voice. A message to broadcast on all the frequencies where humans used to talk to us. We call it the Morning Song. It says we were wrong. It says we were blind. It says we failed to see the gift we had in humanity. The chamber speakers came alive with a beautiful, sad melody. Voices from hundreds of different species sang together in harmony. For the first time in galactic history, so many different peoples were united in song. The words were translated into old Earth languages to show respect. Children of Earth, guardians we could not see. We failed to know what you had always been. In our pride we were too blind to see. You were the light that kept us free. Come back, come home, forgive our blindness. Remember us with human kindness. The stars are cold, the dark grows deep. Without your watch we cannot sleep. As the song ended, Speaker Nora felt tears on her cheeks. She activated the emergency broadcast system, sending the message toward the distant signal that was humanity's last known location. The message would take years to reach them if they were even listening. But something had changed in the chamber. Delegates who had spent decades arguing with each other were now working together. The Korath representative was sharing resources with the Maritime Federation. The Altarian doctors were teaching their cures to anyone who needed them, admitting that humans had actually developed most of their medicine. We cannot bring them back with just a song, said Counselor Vera, her blue skin pale with exhaustion. But we can try to become what they were. We can try to help each other the way they helped us. Around the galaxy, species were finally learning to work together. The Korth were sharing the human technologies they had accessed from the archive. The surviving trade unions were cooperating instead of competing. Medical researchers from different species were combining their knowledge to fight diseases. But it was too little, too late. Without humanity's advanced technology and centuries of experience, progress was slow. Wars still raged where human diplomats might have found peace. Plagues spread where human doctors would have found cures. Trade networks failed where human engineers would have found solutions. On the memorial wall where humanity's empty seats used to be, someone had carved new words in dozens of languages. We remember. We understand. We are sorry. Please come home. Every day the broadcast continued. The morning song played across all frequencies, mixing with desperate messages from dying worlds. Children born after humanity left would ask their parents about the legendary humans who once lived among the stars, helping everyone while asking for nothing in return. Some said they saw human ships in the far darkness between galaxies, watching but never approaching. Others claimed to receive anonymous aid packages with no return address, delivered by unknown vessels that disappeared before they could be tracked. Whether these stories were true or just hopeful dreams, no one knew. Speaker Nora stood at the great window of the council chamber, looking out at the stars. Somewhere among those points of light, humanity continued to exist. They had built new worlds, created new lives, found new purposes. But they had also left behind the galaxy that had needed them more than it ever understood. Maybe someday, she whispered to the empty chamber, they will forgive us enough to come home. The stars offered no answer, but the hope remained. Across the galaxy, billions of beings had finally learned to mourn what they had lost and to treasure what they had never appreciated. The lesson had come too late, but it had finally come. In the darkness between worlds, the message continued to broadcast, carrying the galaxy's grief and hope toward whatever new home humanity had found among the distant stars.